select stream. Did it work? Or did it just create something with... If we're recording, we're all going to look very goofy just staring in silence.
Well, we're live.
Oh, no, we're live. I just got the notification.
So we do look goofy just staring.
Yeah, we were just staring, and who knows how many people are...
Or is it Paul?
No, you're good.
No, can you check on yours?
On what?
On the YouTube short to make sure we're not. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
you're
we're up and running, so if you want to pull the chat room up and everything.
good. Oh, wait, how do I pull it? Oh, I'll just pull it up on my phone.
Yeah, just pull it up on your phone for today. Welcome back to RTV and to Reborn. We have found somebody on the side of the road that we decided to pick up and maybe include them a little bit more. She did okay while I was gone, and I was very appreciative and stuff, and I would like to introduce Cammie.
Hi.
She does not like being on the camera, as you can tell. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a green screen here. And
Can you blur my face out, please?
and that way we can put like just a floating head or something for her to make it fun.
A floating head.
Yeah.
Bouncing. We're going to sing.
But I want to thank everybody for tuning in and hopping on, and I appreciate all of y'all just continuing helping out the channel. The channel's been growing a lot more, and it's all because of y'all. So please keep sharing that and just expanding Reborn as it is. It means a lot to us. That way we can hire more people like her. If we don't, then we have to let her go. So this is on you.
We're working on the contract.
Right.
Yeah.
The contract's already been solidified. Sorry. I already made it, executed it, and signed it for you.
Oh.
But
It's community service.
But as you can see, we have a new topic today that was brought up to me. It's called Faith Without Work is Dead. And I feel like we can target it from both sides about the works and faith. So I wanted to go ahead and talk a little bit about how faith is. So faith without work is from James 2:26. From what I found, you can correct me if I'm wrong, means the true living faith is not merely a belief, but also results in actions and that demonstrates that belief, such as the acts of love, kindness, and compassion towards others. Just as the body needs a spirit to be alive, faith needs work or deeds to be considered alive or purpose, because this phrase emphasizes that the faith that does not manifest tangible actions is ineffective, useless, and indication of a dead or false faith. Would you say that y'all agree or disagree?
Oh, yeah. I agree with it.
What about you?
Sure,
I don't know.
I agree.
I don't know.
Yeah. I agree.
It's okay to be
What he
live.
said.
You can be lively. I mean, y'all are sharing a mic, so you're going
Yeah.
like, yes!
Well, some people think that Paul and James were at odds with each other because Paul talks about salvation by faith without works, and then James talks about faith, without faith, there's no works, there's no faith. But they're talking about two different things. There's nothing I do to get saved other than accept it by faith.
Right.
Right? That's what Paul was referring to. James is saying, don't tell me that you have faith unless you tell me what you're doing with it, right? He talks about, man will say that he has faith, and he'll say, you show me your faith without your works, and I'll show you my faith by my works.
Right.
And the man is someone that's not even saved, right? So you can have, for us, we could have somebody that's of a different denomination that doesn't even believe what we believe, and they go, well, if they said, well, what's your faith? Well, my faith's in Jesus Christ. Well, what do you do as a result of that? And they go, well, I do this and this and this and this, right? What do you do? Well, I don't do any of that. Says, well, at least I got faith enough to work.
Right.
Probably a good example would be the terrorists and stuff. They have enough faith in what they're doing that they're willing to do, and what they believe that they're willing
To go
it's
as
not
far as that
good.
they do.
Right.
It's not
Right.
good, but you see, they're willing to put. That's one of the reasons why I think I've heard that the Muslim communities, the guys that really don't like us, is because we call ourselves Christian, and yet we don't do Christian things.
Right.
We
We're
don't
not
act
acting
on it.
like it.
We don't
Right.
act like it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So pretty much that, just to emphasize that, is that the faith needs the action itself. You can't
Yeah.
just say that I have faith alone and just,
Faith doesn't mean nothing unless
right.
there's.
You got to have the work behind the
Okay,
faith.
yeah, you go to somebody, hey, I got faith. You go, okay, what do you do? What do you mean, what do I do? You have to have done something.
Right.
Right.
Well, that's also because when you have that action behind the work and the action behind your faith is showing that your behavior is also changing with it as well. Because now you're
That's a
displaying.
demonstration
Yeah,
of it,
it's
yeah.
a demonstration.
Yeah.
You're displaying it to a crowd of people.
Yeah.
Now, being the devil's advocate in this situation, let me transition towards showing the works but no faith. So, for example, if people who saying, "Well, I donate, millions of dollars to all these, organizations, I take care of other people that are homeless, etc." They're showing all the works that they have because they're trying to show that they're a good human being, thinking that's their ticket into
Right. Well,
heaven itself.
They still have faith, but their faith is in their works and not in Christ. They
Right,
still have
because
faith.
they're
My
doing
faith
it
is
in a
that I've
reverse
got to
card
do
there.
stuff.
Right.
I don't do stuff to be saved. I do stuff in faith because I'm saved. Right.
Right.
And that's the big difference. And sometimes people get kind of wound up in their doctrines on all that, because when you get to Hebrews chapter 11, he says faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And then you go through the entire chapter of 11, and when he says by faith Enoch, by faith Abel, by faith, and it tells you what they did, right? You got faith? Yeah, okay, what did you do with it? Nothing. Well, then that's what James is saying. You don't do nothing? No. Then your faith isn't in Christ. It might be, my faith is in doing works, or my faith is in I got to do things for myself, or my faith is in my wealth or prestige, or being escalated up in society. That's where my faith is at. How can you tell? Because that's where you work. That's where you put your effort.
And would you call that more of a sign of a living faith?
Well, if you're doing it to try to get prestige and power and all this, it's faith in the wrong thing, right?
Yeah.
Because it's going to go away, and when it goes away, so do you.
Right. Because I have in my notes and everything that the works does not mean salvation, like you just stated earlier, that the works that are not basis for earning and maintaining your salvation, rather just that they have the result of having already received the salvation through the faith itself.
Yeah. I mean, when you think, for example, in Ephesians 2:8, for by grace, God's grace, are you saved through faith. Grace is God's part. My faith is in God's grace that He will give me. For by grace He is saved. He'll give me salvation by His grace, which means if I'm getting it by His grace, I do nothing for it. That's why I continue on. That not of yourselves, it's a gift of God. That not of works, lest any man should boast, right? This is not of work. My faith is not in my works. My faith is in God's grace.
Right.
Now, because of that, I will work, right? I'll act in faith towards Him. Do I believe that God can take care of me financially? Yes. Prove it. How do you do it? I tithe. I give extra. I do ministries here or there, like you were saying. I go to help with the food banks and things like that. Why? I'm not doing that. I'm doing it as a demonstration of my faith,
right,
in what I believe God can do these things through me.
Right, and
I'm trusting.
And that's why you got to be real careful, in my opinion, that the works that you're doing for faith is not something that you're trying to advertise to make yourself feel better as a person, saying, well, I'm doing all this stuff because
Sure.
I'm wanting to everybody to see that this is
Yeah.
me that's doing this.
I think there's a form by which you may do that, because you might, by doing it by like an encouragement. We're told to be an example. Pastors were told to be an example. So how do I be an example to you? And you go, well, you tithe? Well, I can't tell you that. Do you go out and witness to other people? I can't tell you that. Just for clarity, that was the dog groaning. I know it could have sounded like something else, Cammy.
It's getting warm in here.
But so that's what you got to.
Right. I mean, you can tell about what you do.
We got to be able to talk to each other in that.
Mm-hmm.
But does it become
You're
braggadocio?
not,
That's
you're
not
not
good.
outwardly boasting like,
Yeah.
hey, guess what I did, or look
And-
what I did, and did I tell you?
Yeah,
You
and
know?
that's what's hard
Building your
to
ego
get up.
out of
Well,
it.
no, that's what's hard to get them to going. Well, you got to let people know what you're doing, and so when you're doing that, they're going, is he bragging? I'm trying to tell you, if I can do it, you can too. That's
Right.
what you need to hear.
That's the more appropriate way to handle things, not to make it seem like an ego booster whatsoever or self-boasting, like she said. But let me ask y'all this: what would y'all consider examples of works? Each one of y'all want an answer.
Well, doing anything you do, like say at church, any ministry that you're a part of, or say like we have feed the multitude, or I would go out singing at a church, sometimes. Or,
You've been doing that without me?
yeah.
That
Don't
explains a
tell you.
lot.
I mean, just yeah. So a lot of it is time. I feel like for me, I don't have a lot of money. I may not always give so much money to the missionaries, or don't always give so much maybe to the feed the multitude. Although I have bags I need to bring here, but it's not always about a financial, like this is how much I have.
Using
I'm
a
gonna give
financial
more.
excuse.
Yeah, no, it isn't a financial excuse for me, but that doesn't mean that my time is important. So I use my time wisely for Christ.
Mhm.
Could I have chosen to do other things other than say, come here to Reborn, or to go feed the multitudes, do flyers or whatnot? There's always stuff to do. There's always something else to do. And when we go and walk and do flyers, we're walking the streets early in the morning and it's hot. It's hot for me.
Or extremely cold.
Or, well, I don't know about extremely cold, but it's hot.
I prefer cold,
For
honestly.
me, it's hot.
I'm
but-
there with you.
And we're walking, and I'm not in the best of shapes, to go out there to do that. But I know I need to, because I want to spread the word. And if that's what it takes for me to do that, I'm going to spend my time and my energy and being sweaty to go do it. We sacrifice
forget
those
smelling.
things. Really? I didn't know it was smelling too.
I'm just kidding, probably.
But yeah, so it's
Probably.
like time that you put into for what is for God. We talk to the kids about what are you doing for God's kingdom. And I said, like, what do you mean? What does that mean? Like, what are you doing here that is going to prepare you for God's kingdom? Because this is temporary, right? We're only here for a little bit, and so many times they get stumped. One thing that I do bring up to the kids, though, which she'll probably tell you, that something that we have talked about having faith. I have faith, so I work because I want to show, because faith is an act, right? It's an act. Just as we say love is charity. We ask them, what does charity mean? Did you answer that? What does charity mean?
Oh, I had to think for a second. Charity is love shown in action.
Okay, so we had an example, like I said, I'm married to Vincent, right? And if I said I loved him when we said I do, and I never tell him again or show him that I love him, how would he know that I love him? I'm like, I guess he wouldn't, right? I love Christ, and I have faith, so I'm going to show him. I'm going to act out and do something. Like you said, you have to show something, right? You can't just say it, I have faith, and never show it. Or I love you, but never show it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Always
you
be
do
there.
demonstrate faith in everything that, everyday things that you do. I have faith that my car's going to start.
Yeah.
I have faith that I'm going to get here and get back, right? I have faith. But when does God ever give you something easy? When is it ever easy?
Never.
It's never easy, at least to start with. Faith, when God asks you to step out, it's always on something that's beyond. So you have to trust in faith, right, to do that particular things. And okay, do I trust him or do I not? That's why I like Elijah. Because God tells him to go do the next thing, and he just goes and does it. It doesn't make sense. I got the ravens there to feed you at the brook Cherith. Okay, and he goes. And then and then for a Jewish man to be told, okay, I'm going to have a widow woman take care of you, that is a slap in the face. And he goes. And he went. Why? Because he had faith. Right? And James, I think later on, James even, chapter 5, he talks about that. The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. And then he says Elijah was a man with passions like us, and yet he prayed, and it didn't rain for 3 years. Right? So you see that he had absolute faith in what when God told him to do something. Think of what we call here at the church, we call the shoestring commands. Do I have enough faith to do the shoestring commands? And it's like, I don't have enough faith to do that. Well, then you're still you're still struggling with your faith, right?
Would you consider in Ezekiel when he's screaming and crying in the middle of the streets that those were good works of faith?
Ezekiel was doing it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you said Ezekiel. Imagine Isaiah when he was told to walk naked. Now, he wasn't naked. He had his girdle on.
Right.
His 18-hour. He had his girdle on, but and then I want you to lay on your side, and I want you to lay on this side. And Ezekiel, you have to trust that God is talking to you.
Right.
You know,
and that's why I wanted to bring up Ezekiel because that was actually a very, very serious moment where you see a man in the streets screaming, wailing, and crying about everybody's death that's about to happen, and people are just walking past him.
Yeah.
Not even batting an eye.
Yeah.
So to have, in today's time, you would think like, oh man, that'd be embarrassing to.
It's the, the end is near guy with
Right.
the beard and the sign.
Right. Like you're advertising yourself for everybody to see that this guy's crazy what he's doing right now.
Right.
But really,
John the Baptist was that way.
Yeah.
And they go, John the Baptist is a nut. It's like, but when they heard his message, they didn't go, he's a nut. They went, we got to stop him. You're right. And you don't do that when someone's a nut job. You do that because someone's hitting the
marker.
Hitting the mark, right?
Right. So let me get yours on what a good example of good works is.
I feel like, whenever it comes to good works, I think a lot of it is getting out of your comfort zone. Like, there's many things that I've done here, just in general, that it's out of your comfort zone. Like Kimmy was just talking about flyers. Whenever I first went to do the flyers, I knew that God had been telling me, hey, you need to go do the flyers for a couple months before. But I was like, no, because that was out of my comfort zone. I had to be away from my parents, and I had to go up to people's front doors and put something on their door.
And
I was
she
like,
was afraid of dogs.
Yeah, and I was afraid of dogs. Not that one, though. he's sweet. But I feel like a lot of it comes to being out of your comfort zone, because whenever you're out of your comfort zone, that really shows what faith you have. It's like conquering the it's like you have to. Like whenever I would go to the flyers, I was afraid to do it. I was like, no, someone's gonna snatch me up.
Oh my goodness.
I'm being real. That was my thought process. I was so scared to go do it, but I had to have that faith of, I'll be okay. I'm not going to get snatched up if God's been telling me to go out and do this.
Right. And if you do, they'll return you pretty quick, I imagine.
Yeah. Take her back.
Tell us where you live.
We'll drive you. Do you want
We're
McDonald's on the way home?
We're going to the police station.
Well, I think these are all great examples of good, the positive side of it. So let's talk about the negatives.
Here's the thing I want you to consider, is that there's people that talk about their faith. So, well, tell me about it. You go, oh, that's personal. That's private. It's like, not if it's Christian. It's not. It's publicized, right? Let me tell you about Jesus. Let me tell you about him. Oh no, it's between between me and God. Some things are between me and God, but sharing with other people is not part of it, right?
So
sorry to mean.
No, you're good. No worries. So let's go to the opposite side of the spectrum and talk about what are not good examples.
We always have faith. Well, it's like we said at the start. You always have faith in something.
Right.
Right. The question is, where do you place your faith? Sometimes people put their faith in a job and a boss, and they don't come through. Right. You put your faith in maybe someone that you're dating, and they don't come through.
Right.
Right. So there's things like that.
See, I have notes on here that I put as not as a good example is to call. It's not to call or to earn salvation through good deeds, not to call judgment of works that are done without faith. And then I have another note that I put on here that it's not a command to perform burdensome tasks, but an invitation to live out one's faith joyfully. Would you say you concur with those? Or?
I don't think I concur with the last one. Say that last one again about something that's burdensome.
It's not to command to perform burdensome tasks, but the invitation to live out one's faith joyfully.
Some of the things that we're going to ask to do is going to be burdensome things.
You would feel like
to have faith. I'm going to have, I got somebody that's going to pass away, and that's burdensome. And I've got to be able to. Sometimes I'm going to have. I don't want to get up and go do. I don't want to go make a hospital call, at 4 a.m. or go to an emergency room, and you get up and you go. And probably at least in my case, maybe in yours with dealing with the teens and stuff, is probably one of the biggest burdens, things that you hear is the burden that someone tells you of what's going on. I mean, I listen to people tell me about excruciating childhoods and what's happened to them, and then you feel with them and you hurt with them, and then you go outside the door and you got to act like everything's okay. That's hard. That's hard.
Okay, I can definitely see where you're coming from on that.
The other thing that's just about as bad is you watch your brothers and sisters in Christ. You watch somebody that's they're just going the wrong path. You preach it, you teach it, you talk to them, and they are in a hog pen, and they don't know it, and they won't listen, and that's burdensome. That you gotta keep it. You gotta keep you gotta keep the air in the room, right? When it's like, man, you're just, can't you see what's happening? I can see what's happening. God's getting you, and you're going, no, everything's fine. It's like, not with you,
right?
And that's burdensome. So
let's dive deeper about burdensome then, because I wasn't trying to mean it more in that aspect. I was thinking it more of like just the normal tasks that you would probably do, like helping out the church or something like that. And you're thinking like, oh, I really just don't feel like doing that. I have an excuse for it. That's what I was going along with. But you dove into a whole different area.
He didn't have that on his.
I went to the dark place.
I was about to say, it depends on what your definition is of burdensome. Because your definition of burdensome compared to someone else burdensome could be holding open the door for someone. Oh my gosh, my day's ruined because I got to hold open the door. So it really just depends on what.
So me and her are on the same page.
Karen, was it?
It's worse when they take forever to walk through the doors. Like, let me just
close the door on you.
Like, all right,
I'm driving to the church and you're going, why won't they hurry up? Why won't they hurry up? And then they pull in the church with you.
Yeah. or you grab them by the walk. When they open the door and they're taking forever, you grab them by the walker and you're like, all right, let's go. Sip. But no, but
I think I was kind of going your way as well, but then
he went a whole different dark path, but now
I feel like it really just depends on what your definition is of burdensome. Because some people just simply sweeping up, just saying hello to someone, that's the most burdensome thing, ruins their entire day type of thing.
Sure.
Right.
But
we're taking out the trash.
What do you think that is? I think sometimes what you're talking about is old man fighting new man.
Yeah.
Right? It's a burden because old man wants to get in the car and leave. New man is telling me to stay in here to talk to other people.
Right. Or like the 3-second churchgoers who are like right there at the edge of thinking when you're praying like, all right, I'm about to go.
On your marks, that's it.
And they're gone. But no, so now I'm going to go ahead and dive into the depressing dark side that you went through. And apparently we need to, open up our hearts and pat you on the back or something. Can you pass that along?
Wasn't looking for that.
But
okay, so you get an A.
So going through that, how would a person be able to have the strength to go through something like that? So, like for example, you talked about making a phone call at 4 a.m. about someone's passing, or getting a call that someone passed away. How does one with faith can rejuvenate themselves after hearing something so depressing or dealing with a kid going through a dark time and they completely vented to you? Like, how does one with faith uplift that and help them, because now you've been brought down to that mood?
That's a great question. And the answer, if I'm getting a call from somebody that is passing and I know that they're saved, my faith tells me I know where they're at. That's the relief. And older folks, when you've been going watching them suffer for a long time, and then you get the call they've passed away, and while the family may be mourning, and I'm mourning too to a degree, on the other side of it, they're not in pain anymore, and they are where they're supposed to be. This isn't our permanent home. So when you really have the faith that this is a temporary place, this is a motel, this isn't my permanent home, then it's a lot easier to let loose of this because you know that you got something ahead. When my mom and dad passed away, as terrible as it may sound, I was happy for both of them. For that, I was kind of worried that my dad would be talking to Debbie more when he gets down. but because they were released, I watched them from being strong and always, my dad could always pick up anything.
Yeah.
And probably couldn't, but in my eyes he could. And watching him where he just can't even get around and he can't move and he can't go hunting and he can't. When he couldn't go fishing, he was done, right? And so to know that, and to know I'm going to see him again, that's my faith is real. I know that. And so when I do a funeral for somebody, the same kind of thing. Now there's the other side of that coin where someone's passing and I ask them, are they saved? I don't think I don't think they've ever accepted Christ. Well, now that's a burden, but now there's there's still someplace, and to be able to tell that family member or family members, I can say this with every bit of assurance. I promise you, they want you to know Jesus, right? I have absolute 100% confidence in that if they're not where you think they may be, where they're at, they don't want you there, right? I don't say that like that, but I promise you they want you to know Jesus. And why? Because he's real. I have absolute confidence that he is real, and he wants them. Why? Because he came to save every one of us. So that's not just some accolades. That's a reality. I believe that. And when you begin to accept the reality, that's the beauty of the Bible. The Bible never sugarcoats anything. It tells you exactly how things are going to be and how they are. So when I can look at that and I go, this is reality, not what people fluff around and want to think that things are, but this is how things really are. Because the Bible tells me how things really are. But he also tells me how things are really going to be.
See, I would feel like that's more bittersweet than anything. Because even though there's bitter moments, there's a sweet side to it.
Temporary.
Mm-hmm.
It's temporary. I mean, because I love what one guy said, and I've used this as an example. He had the white rope, I don't know what they are, the cloth ropes, whatever they are. White
twine?
Rope. Kind of, but it's
You're the crafty person.
Clothesline. Mm-hmm. It's about that thick. We've used it in here. And he has this, and he stretches it across his church in the front. And then he goes over at this one end, and he makes a little red mark over here. And he said, this is your and my life on this earth. And then the string goes all the way to the other end. He goes, we're in a very short end of a very long stick. This is short. 70 years, 70 years doesn't look that far away now, right? 80 years it's short. I was telling Laura and I were talking yesterday. Man, time is going by quick, and it's like, and it gets going faster and faster. The closer we get to eternity, the faster it gets. And all of a sudden, that old song, "The things of this world will grow strangely dim." Trust me, the closer you get to knowing you're at the end of your life, the less that other stuff matters at all.
That's definitely something I tell the kids. I said, you guys are young, and I was young before.
What?
You were
I was
young?
even
You were
your age
young?
at one point.
What?
I used to be young
Right?
too.
But the thing is, we're only here for a short period of time, and I didn't believe that when I got older, like, it's going to go quick. And the things that I cared about when we're younger, the things that kids care about, maybe what they look like, how they dress, or whatnot. Maybe not necessarily in your case, but it happens. We all do those things, right? But as you get older, like Vincent told me something, I don't remember what it was, but I'm like, I don't even care. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I don't care about any of that. Once you get to a certain age, like, I am so driven to know where my end is that I don't care about all the other stuff. It's not important. My vision gets much narrower, right, of what is important and what I really care about. All the other stuff just goes by the wayside.
When would you say that train of thought started happening?
When I
60.
when I turned 60.
When you went to your
No.
first Lubies?
I haven't
He
been
tells,
to.
he
I haven't
tells me
been
about
to
Lubies all the time,
I haven't
too.
been to Luby's in a long time.
Oh, no, it's not a
No,
big-
but really, because these kids are so young and been in church, like even Josiah, my son, who he has grown up in a church. I didn't have that luxury. I didn't have the luxury of being around other believers and to understanding what the Bible was. I never read it. I was already like 30s when I started my walk.
Mm-hmm.
And I still have a long way to go, and my walk is still wobbly sometimes, right? Because I'm always learning. I will continue to learn until God brings me home. But I completely now, like, so focused. Like, I don't care about all this. I don't care about that, all that. As you get older, you'll understand that. And I tell the younger kids, right? You don't care about all that other stuff, You don't care what anybody else thinks about you. I don't care. I don't care.
You look at some old folks sometimes, and you think, like I'll use my dad as an example. It's like, I get up to him, and he's shaved, but he left it. He's got stuff up here still, and I look at the bush that's growing in his ear.
Oh my gosh.
And it's like, you know what? He's got to that point in his life where he just doesn't care.
Right.
Says, I don't care. You wouldn't shave. Okay, I got it. Next after I was gone, he said, I don't care.
I would say my walk is very similar towards yours because it's the same situation where I didn't grow up in a church. Right? We were, and I've said it in previous episodes, where we were CEOs. We went on Christmas, we went on Easter, we went on other holidays, and that was mostly because my dad's mom, Grandma Haley, she made us go.
Right.
So it was one of those that we didn't want to anger her because we feared her.
Mm-hmm.
And if you make a German mad, then that's no bueno. But it wasn't until my about mid 20s and everything until I started coming to this church and started asking questions. And it was one of those that I felt like her at first. I had a lot of issues where I didn't like talking. I mean, I don't do a good job still because I have no, like, not saying filter, but like I say and it's very blunt sounding, so it never sounds right.
I knew there was something wrong with that.
But the more and more that I started coming, the more and more I started growing, and then I remember that when I was getting married and stuff, I got saved here, and that was a huge step. And then shortly after that, my sister got saved here, and then shortly after that, my mother got saved here, and it was all thanks because of my wife. Yeah, yeah. I'm sure she's on and everything.
Yeah, I'm in trouble now.
I mean, she just likes discipline. So she can, let me rephrase that. She likes to inflict discipline.
There you go.
Discipline's important.
She would be the balancer at heaven. I could totally see it. She would put in for that application. Anybody she sees, like, you're gone.
Goes, Peter, I got the gate. You go.
Yeah. It's like, while you're going in there, bring David, please.
Can you call him out?
Inside joke.
Yeah, you have to watch more and you'll get it. But I feel the same way. That the more that I've been able to get immersed with faith and the actions behind it, the more I've learned that the things that I used to care about really just don't care. I don't care about it as much.
It's not that important anymore.
No,
I mean,
like
just kind of.
I was never big of hanging out with tons of friends and stuff and doing the teen life or the early 20 life, going to bars and things like that. I was never a part of that lifestyle to begin with. But I did learn once I started getting more immersed that certain friends, when they found out that I was saved and stuff, I either lost them or I got a gain of respect from them. And honestly, when that happened, when some of them I haven't talked to since that day, it never bothered me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I know that I chose the right path and to grow and learn and be a part of and stuff. So I can totally understand exactly what you're coming from. Not as old as you, but one day I'll have the wisdom like you.
Right, one day you will. Let's pray that you do. Let's pray you get that wisdom too, son.
But so that was good points and everything that you brought up about the burdensome, especially with death related and everything, because that kind of honestly hits home for me, because recently it just happened in my family, and I don't like having emotions. I really don't. I do my hardest to hide a lot of it. And I know that's bad, but I can say when that happened, everything just flooded out of me. And it was hard. So, but like I said, bittersweet is that fact that I know that she's somewhere that I'll see her one day.
Yep. Yep.
So,
again, short end of a very long stick, right?
But now let's target towards like what you were mentioning earlier, and that's the part of like teens. Like, what happens if somebody that has experienced a hard tribulation or a hard time and is coming to you for faith education to help them? How does one approach that?
A teen that's gone through some pretty tough stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
How can one help them and guide them, because they're coming to you obviously because they find you as the comfort, especially you because you teach the teens. Like how does one interpret that and be able to provide them from everything of your learning?
Yeah, sometimes through that kind of stuff, you become a second dad to somebody that didn't have a dad. And through all my youth ministry, I've been a youth pastor since 1982, so I've been doing
Before
it
I was
for,
born.
Yeah,
That's for us
probably
born, too.
before all of you were born, right?
No, she was
Yeah.
born before you.
Sure, I wasn't born yet.
Yeah.
Sure.
Or at least in this program, we'll say that's true. And you hear, and so you become kind of that second father figure to them. And what you try to do is demonstrate to them, says, your father wasn't here, your dad didn't do, or just wasn't there at all, or it was abusive, but all dads aren't that way. And you'd be surprised. You talk about teens. I've had people over 55 come to me and tell me that too. They go, I've had a horrendously bad growing up. My dad and my grandpa, and these bad things happen. And you think someone like that, how can you ever tell them that there's a God that's good, that wants to be their father? And you have to say, God's not like that. Not all fathers are like that, right? I heard a great thing. This guy said, Mozart, right? He said, if someone sits down to play at the piano and plays Mozart and plays it badly, do you blame Mozart? You blame the piano player, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see? And that's the kind of, because someone did dadding, fathering wrong, don't blame the big father for that, right? And that's really, and that's good for us as believers too. If people go, well, you Christians, don't blame Jesus because I can't play well.
Right. And so pause right there, because that's going to lead up to my next part of the question, because what happens if that person feels super comfortable with you, but you personally don't feel comfortable enough answering and helping them because you feel like you're not up to what you're trying to do in your faith to provide those answers? Is that okay to be like, listen down and everything, let me get you the answer later, even though they're already in that situation right there?
And I think to some of that, you go, you don't always have the answer to everything, but you can say, I think that we can be comfortable. We can be comfortable in saying most of the time, you're looking for an answer, and I can tell you there is an answer. Now, I don't know what it is, but isn't it comforting to know, okay, someone's got an answer? Now, on the other side of that, people will say, well, I had this bad childhood thing happen to me, bad thing. And, well, why would God allow that? That's tough, right?
So it's always a tough question.
That's a tough question, because, God takes responsibility for that. So why didn't he stop that? And the answer is, in those cases, I don't know. And nobody can tell you why. Right? I can tell you there's evil in the world, and evil runs its course, and it had.
The sad part is that's the most asked question out there.
Oh, absolutely.
That no one wants that type of an answer.
And first, there's no answer to that question.
Right.
Okay, so here's the answer to the question. Right? If there is no God, then there is no objective right or wrong. So what that person did is just what they did. You can't call it good or you can't call it bad. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Right? If there's no objective moral good and moral evil, then to say this is good, you might say it's good for me, or it's not good for me, but objectively it's just all subjective. You know, what's good for you, what's good for me, and that's it. But that becomes very anarchic. Anarchy is developed from stuff like that. I'll do what's good for me, right? And that means I don't care about you guys. If you can help me, fine. If you can't, fine, right? And there's no emotional attachment to that at all. But you see that. I can't tell you why God allowed it to happen, but to say because it happened, there is no God, is not logical.
Right.
It can you can only call something good or bad if there's an objective moral standard that holds that.
Right.
Right. So,
let me turn the question to you. Since you're the current teen teacher, have you faced scenarios and stuff like that?
Yes, sure. One of the first things I think that I feel is like I feel hurt with them, right? You feel that pain. And the second thing I think that I feel that I have to maybe suppress sometimes is like I get angry with them or for them, right? Because what happened is so horrible. It shouldn't have happened, right? I'm kind of like I want to fix it. I feel like I need to fix it, right? And there's answers like that. I don't know. I've said that. I don't know why it happened, but I know who does know. And I feel like if you stop at, well, then if nobody knows, then we're just going to kind of give up and move on. So then we talk about, okay, so that happened then. Let's talk about what's happening now. Where do we go from there? To get somebody to stop thinking about what has happened before and how so now I live in that moment. You have to get them away from that, right? So we start talking about like, so what is going to happen now? So what can we do now? I don't know the answer, but I feel like if we get closer, the closer we get to God, He does reveal things to us. So it may have been because of something that she needed or he needed to see to realize something. Unfortunately, there are things that are going to happen to us because it's not always happy and it's not always roses and perfect.
And unicorn farts.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what unicorn farts are, but it's not going to be perfect. So I have to understand that things that happen to me may have happened for a reason. Yeah. Usually that is the case. I need to be able to understand and listen, because so many times when we say, oh, why did this happen? Why did this happen? But yet we're not listening to the answers. And it may not be a direct answer written in Sharpie that's going to say, this is exactly why it happened. Yeah. But there are revelations that God is going to give us and be like, you know what? Oh, maybe not that He did that to me, but why now? What can I learn from that, or what am I needing to hear God tell me through that? Right. Even through such hard things that we've gone through or they've gone through. So then kind of just dealing with that with them and praying and just completely just immersing, being there, just talking to them over and over, unfortunately.
I think a lot still has to do with the patience of people wanting to have the answer right then and there and not
impatience.
The impatience
of wanting that,
the impatience
for sure.
of it.
I think when you mentioned that, I had two verses that came to mind in Romans 8 when it says that all things work together for good. It never says all things are good. No. But He says whatever's bad, God can turn that to good. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then the other verse says whom He did predestinate or foreknew, He did predestinate to be conformed to the image of His Son. And sometimes that in that pain that we experience at whatever time, it is to bring us later to conform us closer to the image of Christ.
Sure.
Right.
How can this pain and betrayal and wickedness, all this wickedness that happened to me, how could that make me more like Jesus? Well, hold on just a second. What did you just say? All the pain and the wickedness that was put on you, doesn't that put you in a real good position to understand what Jesus went through for you?
Right.
You see? It wasn't good. It wasn't good what he went through either, but he did it.
Right.
Right.
So many times we see it on us, though. We see it ourselves. We're like, well, what about me, though? And we're not looking outwardly to see how anybody else was affected, or what did Jesus have to go through because of me? Why did he have to die? And all the things that he went through. But we're just so focused on ourselves, and that's unfortunately the nature of our world now. It's all about me,
Yeah.
And that's part of that prosperity preaching that people get, is that if I'm pleasing to God, then my life's just going to be good, and I'm going to get this, health, wealth, and all that kind of stuff. And that's not true.
Right.
Not true. And some preacher gets up and starts telling you that, you can turn and walk out of that place, because you're going to be disappointed in God, right? Because you think you're doing well, and God is punishing you for it, and you're going, why? Because affliction and persecution and affliction happen to everybody.
Yeah.
Right? Going into a storm, coming out of a storm, or getting ready to go back into a storm. Always.
Which I know this conversation seemed to take a dark turn to it all and everything, but I feel like it still handles the works with everything like that on our main topic.
At the root of it all, you're
At the
right.
root of
At the
all.
root of it all, it's, do I really have faith that
Right.
God knows what's going on, and God knows what's best for me?
Right. And so I'm gonna from the teaching aspect, I'm gonna actually change it over to you. So here's your moment to shine. But
Number 97.
so let me ask you this, because, and not saying that you have to share some related story that you personally have, but how would you encourage a teen or someone younger that they should have the comfort into opening up and getting that assistance and that help?
I would say that whenever it comes to someone else asking me a question, majority of the time this is what I'll do. I'll be like, I don't know. I don't have the answer. I'll be like, you're not going to want my answer, because I already know what I'm going to tell you. So instead, I need to,
Well, at least you're honest.
majority of the time, like whenever I'm talking with my sister, I'll use my sister for example. She'll ask me advice on something. I'll be like, you're not going to want my answer, because I already know what my answer is, and I already know that you're not going to like it. So majority of the time, I'll just be like, go talk with Cammie. That's what I'll tell her.
But how?
That's why you're getting that.
Go talk with Cammie.
Let me adjust that. I'm asking more along the line as how would you encourage someone to open up like that? So instead of like guiding them across, like how would you explain the saying that it's okay to open up to your teacher or whatever to get that help and faith?
I think I would personally use my own experience from the time whenever I went through this, and they told me this. So I think that you should go do the same, because this is how it helped me. Instead, I think I would use my own personal experience on how it helped me and why they should go do it. Because if I'm just like,
That's
you
good.
should go
So
do
you
it.
had enough faith in what you got that you were willing to give that faith to somebody else.
Yeah. I feel like that's what I would do. I would be like, well, I went through this, and they told me this, and this is what I did in result of it. So I think that it would be good for you too. Something along those lines.
Right.
No?
It's always good to obviously use your own example, right? Your own
Yeah.
experience. But we say that we are, when I tell you guys to go out, and we're supposed to be disciples, right? And you guys, well, what do you do? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, all you're doing is just speaking to another person, just talking to them, right? And the only thing that you can say that somebody else can't is just tell them your story. What it is, what did it mean to you? What was it like when you got saved? Or tell them the church that you go to. It's your own personal, right? So that's good that you would tell another student, be like, I don't really know, but I can tell you because, and I had faith to go to them, and they did help me, and not just the teacher, the pastor, and to surround yourself to other people that can help.
Yeah, I would say those are all great answers, and I think actually this is probably a good stopping point for today's topic. I think we covered actually really, really good amount of information when it comes to faith and good works. So, first things first, I hope everybody likes the new overlay that I put on our stuff, on our channel. So, if you do, smash that thumbs up, like it, whatever it is. And thank you always for tuning in. And here in the Holy Dome, now it's 5 that is in because we now have a crowded room. And 2 is out. You want to go ahead and
One's
go?
out.
No, I'm kicking her out too.
Oh, you kicking her out?
5 is in, 1 is out.